Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, this popular YouTuber by the name of PewDiePie from Sweden used the N word during a live stream, and it generated a lot of controversy. And this week, he apologized for using the N word. So, I'm going to tell you what he said, and then I'm going to provide my commentary. So, he was doing a live stream, and for those people who don't know, PewDiePie is one of the most popular YouTubers. He has 57 million subscribers. So he was doing a live stream playing a video game with some other people. And during this live stream, he got frustrated and he said, "What a fucking nigger. Oh my God, what the fuck? Sorry, but what the fuck? What a fucking asshole. I don't mean that in a bad way." So that's what he said. So for those who don't know, PewDiePie is a white YouTuber. Again, he's very popular. So a lot of people expressed their outrage because he used the N-word, and in response to that, he eventually apologized, and he said that he was just being an idiot, and that doesn't make what he said or how he said it okay. And then he went on to say, "I'm really sorry if I offended, hurt, or disappointed anyone with all of this." So let's take some time to talk about this. Now, I was watching another YouTuber discuss this issue, and they were basically saying that somehow, there are times when people say things that they don't mean when they're frustrated or, just out of anger or whatever. In response to that, I'll just say this. Often when people are angry, when people are frustrated, or when people are even intoxicated, often the truth comes out. It's like truth serum. So they say what they really mean. They say what's really in their hearts. And I think that this is the case with this guy, because this is not the first time he's made some controversial statements. He's made anti-Semitic jokes on his channel. He's featured signs that say death to Jews, and then he's also made jokes about Jesus, basically saying that Jesus didn't see anything wrong with what Hitler did, joking about serious things like that. So I don't doubt for a second that this man is probably a racist and an anti-Semite, and he just said what was on his heart at the time. He basically blurted out how he truly feels. And that's what happens when people are upset, when they're angry. They often take down their guard and they just say what comes from their heart. Often the truth comes out when people are unscripted, when they simply have an opportunity to freely talk. That's when they are the most sincere. And I think this is a moment of sincerity, and it should be a moment of clarity for us. It should make it crystal clear that this man is a racist. And for that reason, I don't think that any African American should support PewDiePie. I don't think we should watch his channel. I don't think we should be subscribed to him. And I think that only a foolish, ignorant African American would follow or subscribe to that man's channel and watch his videos, knowing that he is a racist. Now, some will say, well, there are bigger fish to fry. Why make a big deal out of this one person using the N-word? And to that, I'll just say this. Some things are about dignity and pride. The same could be said for the Jews. I mean, when PewDiePie made anti-Semitic statements, people didn't just brush it aside. They didn't just downplay it. They didn't just say, well, that's just some jokes. It's no big deal. Because they understand where those jokes lead. They understand what happens when those types of things become normal in society. They know about the lesson of Nazi Germany. So when that happened, Disney severed all ties with this man. And I'm sure that at some point he probably apologized for making those statements. I haven't followed that aspect of the story, but I'm sure that he probably did. And I'm sure that that didn't change Disney's decision to sever their ties with this man. Because it's about principle. It's about values. So, yeah, I mean, we should learn something from that. I mean, when you look at how other groups of people respond, particularly the Jewish community, they don't tolerate this stuff. They don't say, well, we have X, Y, and Z other issues to deal with, so let's not deal with this anti-Semitism or these anti-Jewish statements. They are relentless in their attack against anti-Semitism and anti-Semites, and that's the way we need to be. We shouldn't show these people any mercy, because the only reason why this man apologized is because there was public outcry, because people criticized him. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have issued any kind of apology. And I won't be surprised if, this is what he says on a regular basis. Now, I also heard somebody basically say, well, he's from Sweden, so he doesn't really understand the significance of the N-word. That's BS. That's just simply making excuses for a racist. This man knew full well what he was saying, because right after he said it, he said sorry, and then he went on to say, I didn't mean it in a bad way. So he knew the implications of using the N-word. And again, it just reveals how he really feels. Now, some will say, well, this is just one person using the N-word. What's the big deal? The big deal is the fact that this guy has a massive audience of 57 million people at least. Those are just his subscribers. So that's important. That means that he is reaching a large number of people. What he says has weight. It has influence. And we don't want to ever be in a situation where it becomes acceptable for people to refer to African Americans as niggers. Do we want to go back to the days when it was commonplace for white people to call black people niggers? Do we want to go back to the days where black men, grown-ass men, were called boys? Do we want to go back to the days where the white man called us other derogatory terms and treated us as such? Do we want to go back to those days? Well, that's what happens when you tolerate racism. That's what happens when you allow these people to feel comfortable treating you as a second-class citizen, treating you with disrespect. If you have any kind of pride or dignity about yourself, you have to stand up and speak out. Now, I know some people have said, well, there are other more important issues besides this one guy saying the N-word. This person went on to say, well, you have inner city violence, you have out of wedlock births, you have other issues in the community. And they went on and on about all these so-called problems in the black community, all these problems of so-called dysfunction, all these problems of, black pathology. And that's typical with black conservatives. They focus on so-called black pathology, but they don't focus on the societal pathology that creates problems in black communities. They don't want to address that. They want to focus solely on personal responsibility and not address the larger societal issues. So they want to deflect and have you talking about issues that don't deal with this core issue, which is in front of us, and that's the use of the N-word, the use of the N-word by a white person disrespecting black people, use of the N-word by somebody that has a large following and audience. They would rather talk about anything under the sun instead of racism. That's the way they function. That's what they do. Well, we're staying on topic. It's about pride and dignity, as I said before. Now, this particular person, who did their video, they were talking about social justice warriors having bad priorities and all that kind of stuff, focusing on things like this, the use of the N-word, not focusing on these community issues, this black pathology and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'll just say this. If it wasn't for social justice warriors, we would still be second-class citizens in this country, still sitting at the back of the bus, still living in a society where there are no colored signs and, signs that say no dogs, no Negroes allowed, signs like that, where we were deprived of our human dignity. We would still be living in a country where African Americans were unable to vote. That's what kind of society we would live in. Still live in a society where African Americans were forced to go to the worst of worst schools. And today we still have some of these problems. And these so-called social justice warriors are the ones out there in the streets fighting against police brutality. So So spare me the nonsense. Obviously there are other issues in the community that are of utmost importance, but racism is an issue that has to be addressed as well. Now, so some people will say, well, black people use the N-word all the time. Why are they so offended because of this white man using the N-word? And in response to that, I'll just say this. It's all about the intention. When black people use the N-word, it is not being used in the same context. Black people are not using it to attack one another. They're not using it to insult one another necessarily. It has a different meaning when black people use it. When a white person is using the N-word, they are using it to insult black people, to disrespect black people. And when a white person uses it, there's a historical context connected to it. There's the context of slavery. There's the context of Jim Crow and all of that is applied when a white person uses that word and the way they pronounce it. They pronounce it in a completely different way, and it has a whole different meaning and context to it when a white person uses it. But again, as I have said many times, I don't think that black people should use that word because I think that it reflects the oppressor's mentality. I mean, there's no reason why we should go around using a word that is the most offensive word towards one another. I don't see Jews referring to themselves using racial slurs. I don't hear Latinos referring to each other in racial terms and racist slurs and all that kind of stuff. I don't hear any other people doing this. I don't hear Asians doing that, referring to each other using racial epithets. And I don't think that black people should do that. So those are my thoughts about this issue. Tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.